Have you ever had that craving for a warm chocolate chip cookie? But you know, you don't need 24 cookies. Well, today I've got the answer for you because we're making small batch chocolate chip cookies, which make the perfect amount for when that chocolate chip craving hits. All you need is one bowl and a few minutes, and you'll be able to satisfy that craving. Hi, I'm Leanne from YourHomeBasedMom.com. And you know what? It happens to all of us. That craving hits, and nothing but a warm chocolate chip cookie is going to satisfy it. But you know, if you make a batch of cookies, you're going to eat a batch of cookies. So that's where this recipe for small batch chocolate chip cookies comes in handy. Now I know someone's going to ask, well, why don't you just freeze the rest of the cookie dough instead of baking it? And that is always an option. But if you're like me and you freeze the cookie dough, then you eat the frozen cookie dough. I love frozen cookie dough. So to solve that problem, we're gonna make small batch chocolate chip cookies. This recipe makes 6 to 8 cookies, depending on how big you make, which is just the perfect amount for the two of us. It gives us a couple to eat right now, and then 1 or 2 to save for tomorrow. Let's get started. All right, we are ready to mix these cookies up, and we're gonna mix them in a bowl by hand. It's just easier. We're going to start with a 1/4 cup of softened butter. You're going to want to let your butter sit out of the refrigerator for about an hour or so. You don't want it too soft, but you want it soft enough that when you stick your finger in it, it does leave an indentation, but doesn't go all the way through. We're going to add in a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar and a 1/3 cup of brown sugar. And then we're going to mix that up. Next, we're going to add in our egg, and we're only going to use 1 egg yolk. Now, you're going to be tempted to use the whole egg because you're going to feel like you're wasting it, but don't, because your cookies will end up tasting too eggy if you put the entire egg in. And then we're going to add in a teaspoon of vanilla. Mix that together. And then we're going to add in our dry ingredients. We are going to use a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. We're going to use all-purpose flour, and I'm using 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons. And then we're going to mix it all up. Right before the flour is just about all incorporated is when I like to add in my chocolate chips. It helps prevent you from over-mixing your cookie dough. If you overmix cookie dough, it tends to get a little tough, and we want a nice tender cookie, so don't overmix it. For your chocolate chips, you're going to need about 1/2 cup of chocolate chips. Now, I like to use a combination. My favorite combination is milk chocolate and white chocolate. You can use whatever chocolate chips you like. Get those all nice and mixed in, and you're ready to bake. After your batter is all mixed together, we're ready to bake them. We're going to bake them on a parchment-lined baking sheet, and I am using a cookie scoop that is a 1 ounce or 1/8 cup cookie scoop, and I'm going to get about 8 cookies with this size of a scoop. So if you want to get more or less, just make your cookies bigger or smaller, depending on how many cookies you're craving. They're ready to go into the oven at 350-degree Fahrenheit oven for about 10 minutes. I like to watch them until they just start to get golden brown around the edges and maybe look like they're slightly underdone in the middle. All right, our cookies are baked and they are perfection. They are crispy around the edges and nice and soft in the middle. Now, at our house, a chocolate chip cookie must be eaten warm and with a glass of cold milk. So now, for the taste test. Guaranteed to take care of that chocolate chip cookie craving. So good. Perfect. Crispy on the edges, nice and soft and warm in the middle. And of course, it must be eaten with a glass of cold milk. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen today. Now, the recipe for these small batch chocolate chip cookies can be found in the description below. And be sure to check over here for my other small batch recipes here on YouTube. And as always, I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel by clicking down below, and And make sure and turn on that little notification bell so that you'll be notified every time a new video drops here on YouTube.